Hello, friends. Rishi Sunak has become the Prime Minister in UK. A person who belonged to the land of the colonized became the Prime Minister in the land of the colonizers. Considered to be quite a historic movement. But should we really rejoice about that? Should we be very hopeful about great things taking place to Indians? And how this event would impact India's internal politics and how it would affect us? I will share some of my ideas and thoughts on that. So let's begin. See, Rishi Sunak, his parents were Indians and they migrated to Europe from East Africa at some point of time. He is a Hindu. Okay. He is married to uh, Narayan Murthy's daughter. So, in all these ways, yes, we can see his Indian roots. But what I want to say here is that just because a person belongs or his ancestors belongs to a particular country does not mean that he will pursue that love or affection for that country in his policies also. Now, see here, Lal Krishan Advani was one of the most vocal critic of Pakistan. He was considered a hardcore nationalist in India, and he was against any sort of building good ties with Pakistan. He admonished Pakistan a lot of times. Now, he was born in Pakistan. He was born in Karachi. And on the other side, Musharraf, who hijacked Nawaz Sharif's plans to bring peace or his Nawaz Sharif's efforts to bring peace between India and Pakistan in 1999. This Musharraf was born in Delhi and he created Kargil war in a certain way. He was the mastermind behind the Kargil wars. Even though he was born in Delhi, he had this great hatred for India. The point which I want to say is that it is not necessary that just because your ancestors belong to a particular country, you would also pursue those some sort of affection in your policies. Now, whether Rishi Sunak pursues or admires us, or uh, does he shows does he show his affection towards Indian culture or things like that, they will be decided by his interests. He is a politician at the end of the day, and his loyalty would be and should be towards his own country, and that is UK now. Secondly, whatever he says, whether he says good things about us or whether he says the bad things about us, whether he says Hinduism is a great religion, India is a land of great culture, or he says the other way out that that this religion and this land has been historically ridden with many vices and many problems. Whatever he says, that will be taken seriously now, more seriously now, by the rest of the world, and especially by his own countrymen. People would say, okay, if this guy whose parents were Indian, if he's saying something bad about Indians, then definitely he won't be lying because his parents were Indians. He himself, in a certain ways, and has Indian blood in his veins. So why would he say something nasty about Indians? So, if in case if he says something nasty about Indians, that would get greater acceptance now than if he had been saying those things before becoming the prime minister. However, chances are, going by the past precedents, that he would be positive about Indian culture and traditions. And you have often seen him proudly displaying his ancestral roots. He has said that he is a proud Hindu, that he said that he's a Britisher, but he's a proud Hindu also. So he has displayed his love for Hinduism and Indian traditions, and he's shared his photos of performing certain rituals also from time to time. So let's be hopeful about that. But the point which I hear is that whatever he says, in whichever directions he says, that will be taken more seriously by people now. Also, uh, this would help in promoting brand India, and specifically it will help in promoting the image of Indians as managers and in key leadership roles. We have seen Indians getting key roles in some top software companies, Google and so on, Twitter. But I think this would open even more gates for Indians, because if Indian can manage some European countries, and especially in the moments of their crisis, the moments of their economic crisis, then must be something great about Indians. This popular perceptions plays a very key role when jobs are being given or see, there was a joke once upon a time. I saw on internet where a Western comedian, he was making this joke. He was very popular, and he said that Indians are never given the roles, or you will never see in Hollywood movies that a Indian has become uh, is hijacking some plane, or a villain, an Indian becoming a villain in a Hollywood movie. No, though Russians you would often see being shown as villains, but not Indians, because an Indian does not look like a terrorist or someone who would hijack a plane or give threats to bomb the world and so on. So popular perception is this thing called popular perception is real, and it does make sense. And Rishi Sunak's becoming the prime minister would help raise the popular perceptions of Indians and help them get key roles in managerial and leadership positions. Next, it will help NRIs to have and greater dreams for their children, where NRIs might start believing, okay, let's maybe someday our kids can also become the prime ministers or at least ministers or some key political figures in their destination countries. Now, I want to talk about the impact on India's internal politics, how this would impact India's internal politics, and how it can it do that? Does an event taking place in UK impact India's internal politics? Now, see, in 2010, Arab Spring occurred, and because of that Arab Spring, that was a pro-democracy movement in North Africa, started in Tunisia. In India, it acted as a catalyst, and people created a demand for a grassroots level, a new kind of political party. And then we saw that how the Anna Hazare movement it kicked off. It was India Against Corruption movement around the same time. And this movement, it gave rise to this political party called AAP, Aam Aadmi Political Party. So Aam Aadmi Political Party, the rise of Aam Aadmi Political Party in a certain way is linked to the people's movement which were taking place in North Africa. So political events in some corner of the world, they do leave impact on the other corners of the world also. Similarly, in India, we have parliamentary democracy. In USA, we have presidential sort of democracy. The way they organize their elections are very different from the way how we are supposed to organize our elections. So there, the elections are taken. Those elections are held between two individuals, and they are being projected as the presidential candidates. In India, you are supposed to elect your representative, and whichever party has the maximum number of representatives at the end of the Lok Sabha elections, those representatives of that political party, they will select and they should select among themselves that who would become the prime minister. So in India, this is how we should be running our elections. But in the recent days, in 21st century especially, and with the rise of social media, and because so much we are influenced by what the events which are taking place in USA, we have also started imagining our uh, elections on the same lines. And now, when we vote in the Lok Sabha elections, or in say, and even for chief minister's elections, when we vote, when we cast our vote, we often think about, okay, who is going to be the prime minister, uh, uh, and who is the prime ministerial candidate. In 2014, the Lok Sabha elections were shown as a contest between Narendra Modi on the one hand and Rahul Gandhi on the other hand. Something similar took place in 2019 also. So now we are also moving some way towards the presidential form of elections. So what is taking place in US is impacting us to a very great extent. Thus, there is a huge potential that these events may influence us also. So how it can influence us? Recently, we saw uh, there were internal elections taking place in their conservative parties, and which went on for around a month, in which these candidates, Rishi Sunak and his rivals, they tried to woo their voters, and the members of the same political party, they had these internal elections. Now, calls for these kind of internal elections within the political parties may be made in India also. And something similar we already saw that in Congress there was this friendly match or internal uh, elections where Shashi Tharoor was fighting against Mallikarjun Kharge, and which Kharge he won by a very huge margin. Now, calls for that may be made in other political parties also, in BJP or at least in regional parties also. If that happens, that would be a great thing. Positive or negative, I can't say, but yes, that would have a great impact on the way we organize, on the way democracy or elections have are played out in our country. Next impact, which I think we can discuss here, is on this uh, concept of decolonization. We saw that how Prime Minister Modi was pushing the call for decolonization in his Independence Day speech, where he says that in the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, in this last phase, we should throw out or weed out any uh, remnants of colonialism. So the colonial hangover and the mindset and all those things, we should be moving away from it. But now, when an Indian or a person from the colonized world, ex-colonized world, he becomes a prime minister or the head or sort of the political head in the world of the ex-colonizer, then this push for decolonization, I think it will get weaker. And even in our country, we may start giving more acceptance to, say, foreigners, or at least people from foreign roots. Sonia Gandhi, she could have become prime minister at one point of time, but she faced stiff resistance from BJP and the oppositions, and she was forced to uh, to leave and set aside her dreams and leave the path for some native. Now, a question which I want to raise here is, my friends, that a person of Indian origin has become the prime minister in UK. His parents were Punjabi. A sort of Punjabi has become the prime minister in UK. But tell me, can you think that a Punjabi or a person from UP or Bihar, can he become the chief minister in Tamil Nadu? Such is the intense regionalism and the linguistic divide in our country, and it manifests itself so vigorously in the linguistic movements or the sub nationalism which we see in these regions, the Tamil nationalism, the Marathi subnationalism, the Tamil subnationalism, and these things, they've been so intense. I don't think that we can see a Bihari becoming a chief minister in Tamil Nadu, or maybe vice versa. So DMK party in Tamil Nadu, it has came into existence and thrived on anti-North Indian sentiment, anti-Hindi sentiment. Now, recently, when the Indian government was trying to, or it suggested that the medical courses and the professional courses be taught in Hindi, at least in the North Indian colleges or wherever they can be, then these suggestions, they were very strongly uh, criticized or rejected by the DMK parties in Tamil Nadu. So the kind of regional divide we have, it it makes me ponder over this thing, that can Indians from one part of the country, say from West Bengal, can someone from West Bengal become chief minister in, say, Maharashtra, or someone from uh, Andhra, can he become chief minister in Punjab, and things like that. At the center, we do have instances where people from linguistic minorities have become prime minister. Narasimha Rao. There's only one instance, or but most of the time the prime ministers have been from the Hindi-speaking belt. In in the case of Muslims, we see that no Muslim has become the prime minister of our country so far. But there have been instances that yes, they have become the president, at least the head of the state. They have become. This is significant. But I think the subnationalism which is there in our country is so intense that it is difficult to uh, imagine As I said, the person from Bihar becoming a chief minister in Tamil Nadu, or vice versa. So these are some of my thoughts, friends. Now, when I'm talking about this thing, uh, I can also share something here that when you belong to the minority group, or when you are the native of the land, when you are the son of the soil, then you have greater bandwidth to go and shake hands with uh, others. In case if you're an immigrant, or in case if you are the a member of a minority group, then that bandwidth is reduced. So, for example, Narendra Modi, he became the prime minister in 2014. He belongs to the conservative party. In India, we consider BJP as a conservative party. He belongs to that camp. Now, Narendra Modi, he is a Hindu majoritarian group. So he can go and invite Nawaz Sharif in his swearing in ceremonies, or he can get into this exchange of gifts of saris via the mothers of Nawaz Sharif and his own mother. He can do these friendly gestures, or maybe he can also get into some other deals with Pakistan or Bangladesh. He has greater bandwidth. In fact, BJP, it got this land agreement with Bangladesh, where they exchanged certain pieces of territories, enclaves, what we call, and India gave away more land than the area of land which it obtained from Bangladesh. Now, nobody questioned that thing, because people are very sure that, okay, BJP itself is a very conservative party. They will not do anything against India. But in case of BJP, if there was a party, a liberal party like Congress, and let us hypothetically imagine if there was the prime minister was a Muslim, and a Muslim whose parents had migrated during partition or at some other point of time, then do you think that that prime minister, that hypothetical prime minister, would have got the same bandwidth as Prime Minister Modi had got? This hypothetical prime minister would have been under tremendous pressure to constantly prove his loyalty to the land of his destination, that is his new home. He would have been under tremendous pressure. The same, I think, might happen with Rishi Sunak also. That Rishi Sunak may constantly have to prove that he is loyal to UK, that he does not have any affection for India. So now, when they get into trade deals with India, or when they decide on any policy measures, when suppose they discuss in their country India's support or India's stance in the Ukraine crisis, he will constantly have to show to prove that he is not having any inclination, and he is not jeopardizing in any way the interest of Britishers because of his affection for his ancestral roots. And in this way, he will have less room, less bandwidth to do something good about India, even though if he wants to, or even though if the needs of Britishers are for that. But as I said, he will be under the pressure and more surveillance. There will be greater scrutiny of his words, his actions, than of some native of Britain had they become the prime minister with respect to decisions taken for India. So these are some of my thoughts, friends. I hope these were beneficial to you all. So with this, I will end it here. Thank you.